on stimulus money and what happens when it's not there. So one of the concerns we expressed about the budget that was put together in April. Spending went up significantly in New York State, which took some people by surprise because of this tough economy. We certainly know with our household budgets, we've all been cutting back. Small business people have been cutting back. If you work at a non-for-profit, you've been cutting back. I suspect if you work at a newspaper, you've been cutting back as well. Yet the state increased spending significantly. Part of why that was done related to the stimulus money, and it was used in a way that plugged some of the holes that were there. And while that may have been helpful in some ways in the short run, it really defers to a later time the tough choices about spending that you have to make. It was not only stimulus money, but some of the tax increases that were enacted are temporary in nature. So you've got, over the next year and a half, you have stimulus money being spent down, you have tax increases starting to expire, and yet we still have this very sluggish revenue stream and built-in structural gaps. That's why we say this problem of New York's weak fiscal condition is going to be with us for a long period of time unless we make some smarter choices about spending. I mentioned the gap for next year is about $8 billion. Cumulatively, 3 years from now, the gap is over $27 billion, and part of that is the impact of the stimulus money being spent down. Now, if we get some additional stimulus money, might that help? Perhaps. But again, I think much of the intent of the stimulus money was not just to plug holes, it was also to do some investments that start to long-term create economic opportunity, to create jobs. So this is going to be an ongoing struggle for us. And I don't minimize the difficulty of this. People expect a lot from the state. And obviously when the state is having problems, it has an impact on other levels of government. It means that, something else that we do through our audits, we need to be sure that taxpayer money is being spent in the right way. This is not a time where waste can be tolerated, whatever the program is. So we have been working very hard to identify where there's been waste, where there's been inefficiency, identifying ways for government programs to spend taxpayer money more wisely. We all need to be smarter, more efficient about how we spend the limited money that we have. If we could do more to eliminate waste, then that's a way of really saving money, and at a time where we need to scramble for those precious dollars. But your question is right on target. One reason why we have these out-year gaps is that the stimulus money, those tax increases are temporary in nature. They're not going to be there forever.
So are the days of stimulus money in, or we can do more with stimulus money and be on our own?
Well, we estimated about $11 billion between the stimulus money and the tax increases is what was included in the budget this year. So that's a lot of money between those two. So unless we make some very hard choices on spending, or we get a big turnaround in the economy real fast, it's going to be very hard to say it's going to be easy for us to manage. New York is not alone in this regard. Many states are suffering. In fact, the Pew Center put a report out that identified the 10 states in worse fiscal condition. New York wasn't on the list of the worst 10. It's a small comfort because we have our own problems. But you look at California being the most extreme example, their problems are even more severe than ours. But if we don't make some smarter choices about how we manage our budget, we could end up, on that list at the bottom 10.